Your father needs you, Anna. Family comes first. Those words from my dad echoed in my head as I stared at my resignation letter. After 8 years building my nursing career in Boston, I was giving it all up because of a guilt-laden phone call from back home in Minnesota. My name is Anna, and at 33, I thought I'd finally found my place in life. I had a great job at a prestigious hospital, close friends who felt like family, and a cozy apartment overlooking the harbor. Then came the call that changed everything. Deborah's health is declining, my dad had said, his voice heavy with practiced concern. Your brothers are too busy with their own families, and you're the only one with medical training. You understand what we're dealing with, Anna. We need you here. I remembered how my hands had trembled as I listened to him outline all the reasons I needed to come home. How Deborah, my stepmother of 15 years, couldn't manage the house anymore. How they needed someone with medical knowledge to coordinate her care. How family should take care of family. What he didn't mention was why my brothers, Jack and Peter, couldn't help despite living just 20 minutes away. Or why they couldn't hire professional help with the money from my dad's successful construction business. Or why this was suddenly so urgent when Deborah had been managing her chronic conditions for years. But guilt is a powerful motivator, especially when wielded by a parent who knows exactly which buttons to push. Remember how much we supported you through nursing school? He'd reminded me. Now it's time to give back to the family. So here I was, boxing up my life, trying to explain to my bewildered friends why I had to leave. My best friend Sarah thought I was crazy. They're manipulating you, she'd said over our last coffee together. You know that, right? They've got 2 sons right there in town, but they're guilt-tripping you into giving up your whole life. Deep down, I knew she was right. But every time I considered backing out, I remembered my dad's voice, the implied disappointment, the subtle reminder of family obligations. The hospital had been understanding but disappointed. We'll miss you in the ICU, my supervisor had said. Not many nurses have your skills with difficult cases. I folded the resignation letter and slipped it into an envelope. 8 years of building a reputation, of becoming known as the nurse you could count on in a crisis, of creating a life I loved. All of it sacrificed because family comes first. The reality of moving back home hit me the moment I pulled into the driveway. My dad stood on the porch, not offering to help with my boxes, while Deborah watched from behind the living room window, already frowning at how I'd parked my car. You'll have to move that, were my dad's first words to me. Deborah needs clear access to get her car out. No hello. No thank you for coming. Just immediate criticism. I'd given up my apartment, put most of my furniture in storage, and driven 12 hours to get here. My cat Luna was still anxious from the long drive, meowing in her carrier. But apparently, the pressing issue was where I'd parked my car. The basement apartment is ready, my dad said, finally coming down the steps. We cleared out some of the old boxes, but you'll need to clean it up a bit. The basement apartment. I'd forgotten about this space, damp, dark, and last renovated sometime in the early 90s, a far cry from my sunny Boston apartment with its harbor views. Deborah needs help with her medication schedule, he continued, following me down the basement stairs. And the house needs a thorough cleaning. She can't manage the way she used to. And I looked around the musty space that was supposed to be my new home. The apartment was basically one room with a bathroom that had seen better days. The carpet smelled like mothballs, and the windows were tiny rectangles near the ceiling that barely let in any light. I thought Deborah just needed help with medical care, I said, setting Luna's carrier down. You didn't mention housekeeping. Family helps family, Anna. You're not too good for housework, are you? There it was again, that guilt-inducing tone that had worked so well over the phone. But somehow it hit differently in person, standing in a musty basement while my professional life fell apart. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Made it okay? Place as bad as you feared? Before I could reply, my dad cleared his throat. Deborah needs help with her breakfast medications in the morning. Be upstairs by 7 a.m. sharp, and make sure that cat doesn't make a mess down here. As he climbed the stairs, I heard Deborah's voice from above. Frank, tell her she needs to vacuum down there before she brings in any more boxes. I can hear her feet crunching on dirt from up here. I looked at Luna, who stared back with her usual unimpressed expression. What have we gotten ourselves into, girl? The first week set the tone for everything that followed. Each morning started with Deborah's medication schedule, but that was just the beginning. Suddenly, I was responsible for cleaning the entire house, grocery shopping, cooking meals, doing laundry, and maintaining the yard, all while being told I wasn't doing any of it correctly. That's not how you fold towels, Deborah would say, hovering over my shoulder. And you're using too much detergent. No wonder you're still single if you can't manage basic housework. My nursing skills, the ones they'd supposedly desperately needed, were barely utilized. Deborah's declining health mainly seemed to mean she didn't want to do housework anymore. She had no problem driving to her weekly bridge club or spending hours at the mall. My dad remained conspicuously absent during the day, working long hours at his construction business. But he was quick to side with Deborah whenever I raised concerns. Your stepmom has high standards, he'd say. Is it so wrong to want things done properly? Maybe if you were more attentive to details in your own life, you'd have settled down by now. The digs about my single status were constant, as if my successful nursing career meant nothing without a husband. Meanwhile, my brothers lived their lives undisturbed. Jack stopped by once, took one look at me cleaning windows, and made a hasty excuse about getting back to his family. At least some of us have real responsibilities, Deborah commented after he left. I tried calling Peter, hoping for some support, but he just laughed. Better you than me, sis. You know how Deborah gets. Yes, I did know. Like when she reorganized my basement apartment while I was out getting her prescriptions, claiming my clutter was affecting her anxiety. Or when she threw away my favorite coffee mug because it didn't match her kitchen aesthetic. Sarah kept telling me to leave. You're a highly qualified ICU nurse, she texted. Your old supervisor called asking if you'd reconsider. They haven't filled your position yet. But every time I thought about leaving, guilt held me back. Family comes first, the mantra I'd been raised with, even when family treated you like an unpaid servant. The breaking point came exactly 1 month after I moved in. I overheard Deborah on the phone with her sister while I was weeding her prized rose garden. Frank was so clever, she was saying. Getting Anna to come back by exaggerating my health issues. Now we have a free housekeeper who can't complain because she's family. Though honestly, she's not very good at it. Some people just don't understand proper housekeeping. My hands trembled as I pulled weeds from Deborah's precious rose garden, her words echoing in my head. Free housekeeper, exaggerating health issues. They'd manipulated me into giving up my entire life, not because they needed medical help, but because they wanted an unpaid servant. That evening, while preparing their dinner, chicken had to be grilled exactly the way Deborah liked it. I started making notes on my phone. Every chore, every criticism, every dismissive comment. I recorded the hours spent cleaning versus any actual medical care Deborah needed. I even started checking her social media, tennis club photos, shopping sprees, bridge club meetings, some health crisis. The chicken's dry again, Deborah announced at dinner, pushing her plate away. Really, Anna, for someone who managed to earn a nursing degree, you'd think you could master basic cooking. I looked at my dad, waiting for him to defend me. Instead, he just passed Deborah the salt without looking up. And the roses aren't pruned properly, she continued. I saw you out there just hacking away. No technique at all. I spent 3 hours in that garden, I said quietly. Well, clearly not doing anything useful. Oh, and the windows need cleaning again. I can see streaks from here. I set down my fork. Funny how your health issues never prevent you from inspecting my cleaning, but somehow stop you from doing any housework yourself. The silence that followed was deafening. My dad's fork paused halfway to his mouth. What did you just say? Deborah's voice was dangerously quiet. I heard you on the phone earlier, bragging about how clever you both were, exaggerating your health problems to get me here. I don't know what you think you heard. I heard enough. About manipulating me into becoming your free housekeeper. About laughing at how easy it was to guilt me into giving up my career. My dad finally looked up. Now wait a minute. No, you wait a minute, I interrupted. I'm an ICU nurse. Did you really think I wouldn't notice that Deborah's declining health miraculously improves whenever there's shopping to do or tennis to play? I have good days and bad days, Deborah snapped. No, you have housework days and fun days, and somehow all the housework days land on me. My dad's face darkened. You're being disrespectful. And you're being manipulative. You lied to get me here, used my medical training against me, and turned me into an unpaid maid. After everything we've done for you, he started. What exactly have you done? Besides trick me into giving up my career and moving into a moldy basement? The basement apartment was a generous offer, my dad said, his face reddening. Most kids your age would be grateful for free housing. Free? I laughed. I work from dawn until night. I clean your entire house, cook your meals, maintain your yard. A full-time housekeeper would cost you thousands per month. Family helps family, he started, but I cut him off. Does it? Because Jack and Peter are family too, but they get to have their own lives, their own careers, their own homes. Why aren't they here helping? Your brothers have families. And I had a career, a life, a beautiful apartment overlooking the harbor. All of which I gave up because you lied about Deborah needing medical care. Deborah stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. I do need care, just because I have some good days. Good days? I pulled out my phone. Let's review your good days this week. Monday, tennis club. Tuesday, shopping at the mall for 4 hours. Wednesday, hosting bridge club. Thursday, lunch with friends. Friday, planning your cruise for next spring. Sounds like a real health crisis. My dad shifted uncomfortably. Now, Anna. Don't now Anna me. I spent 8 years building my career. 8 years becoming someone patients could rely on in their worst moments. And you used that against me. You used my compassion as a weapon. We needed help. No, you wanted help. There's a difference. You could have hired someone. You could have asked your sons. You could have made any number of reasonable arrangements. Instead, you manipulated your daughter into becoming your servant. That's not fair, Deborah protested. We gave you a place to stay. A moldy basement with a bathroom that barely works, while I clean your entire house and listen to constant criticism about how I can't do anything right. My hands were shaking as I pushed back from the table. The magnitude of their deception was finally hitting me full force. You know what the worst part is? I continued, my voice quivering. If you'd actually needed medical help, I would have found a way to support you without destroying my own life. I would have helped coordinate care, found resources, made arrangements, because that's what family really does. Where are you going? My dad demanded as I headed for the basement stairs. To pack my bags. I'm done being your free housekeeper. I threw clothes into my suitcase while they followed me downstairs, both talking at once. Luna watched from her perch on the dresser, tail twitching as the argument escalated. You can't just leave, my dad insisted. What about your obligations? My obligations? What about yours? Parents are supposed to want their children to succeed, not manipulate them into giving up their dreams. We never made you give up anything, Deborah interjected. You chose to come. Under false pretenses, because you lied about needing medical care. Lower your voice, my dad warned. This isn't how we raised you to behave. No, you raised me to be easily manipulated, to always put everyone else's needs before my own, to feel guilty for having a successful career instead of settling down to become someone's housekeeper. Luna jumped into her carrier without being prompted. Smart Cat knew we were leaving. If you walk out that door, Deborah threatened, don't expect to be welcomed back. I stopped packing and turned to face them both. That's your solution? More threats? More manipulation? We're your family, my dad tried again. No, you're people who took advantage of someone who cared enough to come when you called, who used my profession, my compassion against me. That's not family, that's exploitation. You're being dramatic, Deborah snapped. Frank, Tell her she's being dramatic. But something in my words must have finally gotten through to him. He was looking at me differently, seeing me as an adult for maybe the first time. Perhaps we could discuss this calmly, he offered. Come up with a better arrangement. There is no arrangement. I'm going back to Boston, back to my career, back to people who actually respect me. Your old job probably isn't even available anymore, Deborah said smugly. Actually, it is. They've been holding my position, hoping I'd come back. My supervisor called last week. That wiped the smug look off her face. You've been planning this? No, I've been waiting for you to prove me wrong. To show me this wasn't just about getting free housekeeping. I kept hoping there was more to it. I zipped up my suitcase and grabbed Luna's carrier. The weight of their deception, their manipulation, their casual cruelty, it all seemed to lift as I headed for the stairs. You'll regret this, Deborah called after me. No, I replied, not looking back. I regret letting you manipulate me in the first place. I regret not seeing through your lies sooner. But leaving? That's the first right thing I've done since coming back here. The 12-hour drive back to Boston felt like breaking free from a prison. Each mile put more distance between me and their manipulation, their criticism, their casual cruelty. Luna slept peacefully in her carrier, probably relieved to be leaving that damp basement behind. My phone kept buzzing with messages. My dad alternated between guilt trips and angry demands that I return immediately. Deborah had apparently called every relative in her contact list, spinning a story about how I'd abandoned them in their time of need. My brothers sent awkward texts asking me to reconsider, though notably neither of them offered to help in my place. But there were other messages, too. Sarah had already lined up viewings for 3 apartments near the hospital. My old supervisor confirmed my position was still open, even offering a raise to welcome me back. My colleagues sent excited messages about my return. I stopped at a hotel halfway through the drive, needing time to process everything. Sitting on the clean hotel bed with Luna exploring her new surroundings, I finally let myself cry. Not from sadness or guilt, but from relief and lingering anger at how thoroughly they'd manipulated me. My dad called again around midnight. Your stepmom is very upset, he started. Is she? Or is she just angry that her free housekeeper left? Anna, please. We can work something out. Like what? Another guilt trip about family obligations? More lies about Deborah's health? We do need help. Then hire someone, like every other family does when they need assistance. Stop expecting your daughter to sacrifice her life because you don't want to pay for household help. He was quiet for a moment. I didn't realize. I didn't think. No, you didn't think. You didn't think about what you were asking me to give up. You didn't think about how it would feel to be treated like a servant in my own family's home. You just saw an opportunity to get free help and took it. That's not fair. Neither was lying to get me there. Neither was watching Deborah criticize everything I did while she played tennis and planned cruises. Neither was expecting me to live in a moldy basement while my brothers got to keep their lives intact. After I hung up, my Aunt Ellen called, my mom's sister who'd always seen through Deborah's act. I'm proud of you, she said simply. It's about time someone stood up to them. The family doesn't see it that way. The family is used to enabling Deborah's behavior. But you know what? Let them clean her house and maintain her garden and listen to her constant criticism. See how long they last. She was right. Already my brothers were getting calls about helping out, and suddenly they were too busy too. Funny how that worked. Back in Boston, my life rebuilt itself faster than I expected. The hospital welcomed me back with open arms. I found a sunny apartment in my old neighborhood, this time with a spare room for a home office. Sarah helped me furniture shop, replacing everything I'd left in storage at my dad's. 2 weeks after I left, Deborah posted a passive-aggressive plea on social media, looking for reliable housekeeping help. Sadly, some people just don't understand family obligations anymore. Children these days have no sense of duty or responsibility. The comments were illuminating. My cousin Rachel, who'd cleaned for them one summer in college, shared her own experience with Deborah's impossible standards and constant criticism. Others chimed in with similar stories. The post backfired spectacularly, revealing a pattern of behavior I hadn't known about. My brothers started feeling the pressure. Jack's wife finally called me. "They want us to come clean every weekend," she said. "Jack keeps making excuses, but your dad is getting pushy. How did you stand it for so long?" "I didn't," I replied. "That's why I left." Peter lasted exactly 1 day trying to help them. He called me that evening, sounding shell-shocked. Deborah made me reorganize her pantry 4 times because the cans weren't aligned perfectly. Then she complained about how I folded her sheets. Dad just sat there letting her criticize everything. I had no idea what you were dealing with. My Aunt Ellen kept me updated on the family fallout. Apparently, 3 different housekeepers had quit after less than a week. Deborah's bridge club was hearing the real story, damaging her carefully crafted image. My dad was finally facing consequences for his enabling behavior. "They're realizing that professional help costs money," Ellen reported, "and apparently no one wants to work for them even when they offer to pay. Your dad's actually doing his own laundry for the first time in 20 years. My supervisor called me into her office 1 month after my return. I feared repercussions from leaving so abruptly before, but instead she offered me a promotion. "You were missed," she said simply. "Not just your skills, but your dedication to doing what's right. We need more nurses like you in leadership positions." That evening, I sat in my new apartment, watching the sunset over the harbor. Luna sprawled contentedly on the windowsill, both of us finally at peace. My phone buzzed with another text from my dad. "The house isn't the same without you. Deborah misses your help." I wrote back, "I'm sure she does, but I'm not for sale anymore." 6 months after leaving, I received an unexpected call from Jack's wife, Marie. "You need to hear this," she said. "I was at your dad's house dropping off some paperwork, and I overheard Deborah complaining to her sister about how she can't find any housekeepers willing to stay. She actually said, 'Anna was so much better. At least she couldn't quit when I criticized her work because she was family.' I wasn't even surprised anymore. Did Dad say anything? That's the interesting part. He actually spoke up. Told her she was the reason they couldn't keep help, and maybe if she'd treated you better, none of this would have happened. The house apparently didn't run itself after all. Through family gossip, I learned they'd finally had to hire a professional cleaning service at premium rates because of their reputation. Deborah had to start doing her own laundry because no one would do it to her standards. My dad had to learn basic cooking skills. My Aunt Ellen sent me a photo of their once pristine garden, now overgrown because Deborah's health issues prevented her from maintaining it, but she also refused to let anyone else touch her precious roses. "Karma," Ellen texted alongside the photo, "is a master gardener." My new life flourished like those neglected roses never would. I earned my promotion, started teaching nursing classes part-time, and even began dating someone who respected my career and independence. At Christmas, my Aunt Ellen hosted the family gathering, breaking years of tradition. For the first time, Deborah wasn't in charge of the festivities, couldn't criticize everyone's contributions to the meal, couldn't assign seating to show who was in or out of favor. I attended, bringing a store-bought pie that would have scandalized Deborah's sensibilities. My brothers and their wives seemed relieved to have a drama-free holiday. My dad came alone. Apparently, Deborah had refused to attend if she couldn't host. During a quiet moment, my dad pulled me aside. "I've been thinking about what happened," he said, looking older than I remembered. "I watched you build your career, become someone patients depend on, create a life you were proud of. And instead of being proud too, I helped tear it down." "Why?" I asked. "Why did you let it happen?" He sighed. "It was easier to sacrifice your happiness than deal with Deborah's demands. I'm not proud of that." It wasn't quite an apology, but it was more acknowledgement than I'd ever expected. We weren't close anymore, might never be again, but at least there was honesty between us. Later, helping Ellen with dishes, I found myself smiling at how different life felt when you weren't trying to meet impossible standards or win approval from people who'd never give it. You know what the best revenge is? Ellen asked, handing me a plate to dry. What's that? Living well, and from where I'm standing, you're doing just fine at that.